Unless you main him in Smash, Mewtwo's claim to fame is easily his role in 1999's Pokemon the First Movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back.
A movie adored by 90s kids and hated by Boomer and Gen X parents alike.
When you ask kids why they like the flick, you'll get a response akin to, "It was Pokemon in the movie theater. It was so good. It was so awesome." While if you ask an adult, you're more likely to get a response closer to what I got from my dad.
Sam wanted me to ask you what you thought of that Pokemon movie when you saw it in the theaters.
The Pokemon movie? I hated it. It sucked.
This is understandable because the film's plot lacks a through line, so it just seems like random shit keeps happening. But what if I told you that feeling of absence is present because there is, in fact, a missing through line? What if I told you an entire 10-minute prologue was cut from the film's Western release? And what if I told you that it's my favorite piece of art in the entire mainline anime? I first found the prologue, which has since been titled Pokemon The Uncut Story of Mewtwo's Origin, on the special features of my DVD of 2001's Mewtwo Returns. It was originally intended to be released as a part of the anime. This makes sense given the sporadic Mewtwo Easter eggs strewn through the earlier episodes of the anime. However, at one point during production on the first movie, the creative team realized it was too good not to include in the original Japanese version of the flick. It was subsequently cut from the English dub after already being produced in favor of a 20-minute short called Pikachu's Vacation,
which is admittedly also goated.
The film's producer, Kubo Masakazu, once stated in a Yuchu.net article, "The people at Warner gave us so much hassle over the script. According to them, the Japanese original didn't distinguish enough between the good guys and the bad guys, and insisted they needed to be identified more clearly. Because of this, Mewtwo's character was extensively rewritten in the English dub, all due to Warner's belief that kids wouldn't be able to handle a complex villain in the film." But enough about the studio politics. Let's dive into Pokemon, the uncut story of Mewtwo's origin. Unlike the typical happy-go-lucky nature of the mainline anime, Mewtwo's origin is a story of grief and longing for a love that once was. Remember that goofy-looking scientist from the beginning of the movie? Yeah.
Bet you didn't know that he joined the Mewtwo project in the hopes of cloning his dead daughter back to life, resulting in the dissolution of his marriage due to his obsession and delusion.
Talk about mature themes. And let me tell you, my dad would have eaten that shit up because he loved Astro Boy. We begin in a rainforest where a team of scientists are searching for Mew. They don't find it, but they do find a fossil with enough DNA to attempt to clone Mew. Dr. Fuji is heading the cloning project funded by Team Rocket so that Giovanni could be in control of
the world's strongest Pokemon,
Mew's clone. However, the cloning tests include not only Mew, but a Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Dr. Fuji's dead daughter, Amber. Dr. Fuji isn't jazzed about working for Team Rocket, but he'll do anything to see his daughter again.
I'll do anything to see you again.
We're suddenly transported to a metaphysical plane where all of the gestating clones can interact. Here, Mewtwo meets Amber 2, Dr. Fuji's daughter, as well as the other clones. She explains that all of them have 2 at the end of their names because they are all copies.
That's why there's a 2 after all of our names.
She teaches Mewtwo about the joy of the sun, friends, and the feeling of the wind, helping them fly along through the sky.
That's called wind.
Wind?
Mewtwo's naivete is what makes him such a sympathetic character. When the sun sets, tragedy strikes as Charmander 2, Squirtle 2, and Bulbasaur 2 begin to disappear.
We cut back to the cloning lab where scientists are panicking as the cloning process is failing. One scientist notices Dr. Fuji's greatest fear realized.
Amber 2 is beginning to fade. Back in the metaphysical plane, as Amber 2 fades, Mewtwo is desperate for answers.
What's wrong, Amber? What's happening?
Mewtwo becomes hysterical as Amber 2 continues to fade away to the most gorgeous music in the franchise.
I feel something. What are these?
They're tears.
She tells Mewtwo that her father once told her that Pokemon tears are imbued with the power of life itself. Amber 2 leaves Mewtwo with these words.
Don't cry, Mewtwo. You should be happy. You're alive, and life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful.
Oh.
Mewtwo's hysterics continue to spiral as he's left alone. His brainwaves begin to escalate to a dangerous scale due to his psychic powers, and the scientists combat this by suppressing his memory. The other clones have vanished. Only Mewtwo survives. As his memory dissipates, he calms down and questions life, only remembering that life
is wonderful. But why?
Now that we're all caught up on Mewtwo's backstory, we can jump into the start of the American release of the movie where he bursts out of his clone chamber. Dr. Fuji is in awe as his life's work has finally come to fruition. However, the scientists are too busy congratulating each other to pay attention to Mewtwo as an intelligent being. Without the prologue, Mewtwo's blowing up of the lab and killing of Dr. Fuji seems insignificant, but with the added context, it's tragic. Dr. Fuji gave up everything for this, and is destroyed by his own life's work.
And we succeeded.
The tragedy only continues as we realize that, unbeknownst to Mewtwo, he has just killed Amber 2's father. In the wreckage of the lab explosion, Mewtwo is approached by Giovanni. Charismatic as ever without a care in the world for his recently murdered colleagues, Giovanni offers Mewtwo a mentorship. This partnership briefly crosses over into the anime so that Mewtwo can kick Gary's ass.
As time passes, Mewtwo realizes that it is not fulfilled as Giovanni's essential slave. It longs for more purpose than that.
Once Mewtwo smells the bullshit, he blows up the suit and bounces.
Mewtwo returns to the island where he was created and recreates the cloning laboratory successfully this time.
Mewtwo's only memories of being raised are from Giovanni's abuse.
You were created to fight for me. That is your purpose.
That cannot be. Heed my warning. The reign of Mewtwo will soon begin.
When looking at Mewtwo from a protagonistic perspective, it is logical that this negative rhetoric spewed by Giovanni inspires it to challenge the strongest trainers in the area. This is how Ash and Co. get involved. Okay, so Mewtwo also kind of kidnaps Nurse Joy and forces her to be a slave, but that makes sense given the fact that Mewtwo was bred into slavery. Mewtwo manipulates the wind to create a vicious storm to ensure that only the strongest trainers make it to the island. The storm is an example of how Mewtwo recontextualizes positive aspects of life that he learned about from Amber 2
The wind helps us along.
with Giovanni's power-hungry outlook.
Together we can control the world.
Mewtwo battles the trainers, including Ash, with its powerful clone Pokemon. After demolishing them, Mewtwo says,
I now claim my pride. Your Pokemon.
Ironically, Giovanni would have wanted Mewtwo to act this way. He could have had a partnership where they ruled the world as equals if he had been able to look past his own ego to treat Mewtwo with compassion and respect. As Mewtwo captures all of the trainer's Pokemon, Pikachu is the last straw for Ash. He chases after the Pokeball containing it. Just when Mewtwo thinks he has won in his plan for clone Pokemon world domination, there is an explosion followed by Ash leading all of the originals out of the smoke.
You can't do this. I won't let you.
Mewtwo sends Ash flying, and he is saved by none other than Mew. Mewtwo is perplexed. If Mew is supposedly the strongest Pokemon of all, why is it helping Ash, a human? Why isn't it touting its immense power for world domination?
Mewtwo rallies the clones and attacks the originals as he battles Mew.
Most Pokemon battles are meant to be friendly competition, but they're fighting to prove whether the original Pokérace or the clones are quote-unquote better, which is wrong and bad. As the Christian rock band song Brother My Brother fades, our heroes cry as the hopelessness sets in. In a fit of courage, Ash rushes in between Mew and Mewtwo, yelling for them to stop fighting, and is struck by 2 huge blasts of psychic energy. The fighting stops. Ash has been turned to stone. Mewtwo doesn't understand why a human would sacrifice his life for a Pokemon. Keep in mind, the only humans it can remember were members of Team Rocket. Pikachu shocks Ash repeatedly, screaming out in agony over the lost life of its best friend. Pikachu begins to cry. The other Pokemon stop fighting to watch Pikachu sob. This prompts the other Pokemon to begin crying. Their tears flood into Ash's stone body. While this is a beautiful image, in the context of the film without the prologue, it makes no fucking sense. However, with the added context, it's complete and utter cinema. The tears bring Ash back to life. This way, Ash is able to replace Amber 2 as the human who shows Mewtwo the good in humanity. Mewtwo quotes my Instagram bio.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
And has finally learned that life isn't about evil. Life is wonderful. Mewtwo wipes the minds of everyone but the clones because, for everyone else, this was just a traumatic experience that taught them nothing. The more people know of Mewtwo, the more it must live in fear of bad humans finding it and the clones. After all, Giovanni is still out there. So for these humans, perhaps it is best they forget.
But perhaps for you, these events are best forgotten.
Mewtwo and the clones will take the lessons they learned today about humanity to heart for the rest of their lives. Mewtwo now understands that while this world contains the dangers of evil, it also contains the hope for goodness. Mewtwo and his clones fly away to find a new home, grateful for the lessons that Ash taught them, as the wind helps them along.
Sometimes it's soft and sometimes it's very strong.
Sometime later, Mewtwo and the clones are living atop Mount Cana in the Johto region. They have chosen this place because the winds beneath the mountain are extremely harsh, so humans don't typically try to intrude. However, they are still being hunted by Team Rocket, and unbeknownst to Mewtwo, Giovanni has found them.
I've found you.
Ash and Co. are hiking Mount Cana with researchers interested in the natural life-giving abilities in the waters atop the mountain when Jesse and James attack.
A race to the top ensues. Once on top, Pikachu and Pikachu 2 reunite, as well as Meowth and Meowth 2. Of course, the originals don't remember the clones.
This is like the sequel to a movie I missed.
Mewtwo warns them to leave this place when suddenly Giovanni arrives.
I searched for a place to live in secret and in peace. Now these humans have found us again.
He also checks it out on the sick-ass TV.
If the humans will not leave us in peace.
The clones faction into two groups, those who will stay with Mewtwo and those who will battle Team Rocket. The clones who fight are quickly defeated and captured. Mewtwo finally surrenders himself to Giovanni in exchange for the freedom of the captured clones. In doing so, Mewtwo is forced into a force field that drains it of its powers, once again bound to Giovanni as a slave. Side note, I remember this scaring the shit out of me as a kid. Anyway, Ash and Co. catch up to the action, where they work together to free Mewtwo. Once freed, Mewtwo is weak. Ash carries it on his back and plunges it into the healing waters. Sound familiar? In the water, Mewtwo has a bit of a flashback to his origin, where once the waters of his laboratory tank gave him life. Now this pure lake water restores him.
They will be protected here.
Wait till I call Professor Oak and tell him about this.
You will tell no one.
Grateful for Ash's second selfless act, Mewtwo uses his newly restored power to eliminate Team Rocket's memories.
Only they shall forget.
Why are we here? What's the combat unit doing? We should withdraw our forces at once. It's strange, but I have the feeling I have been utterly defeated.
However, Meowth convinces him to leave the memories of the good guys intact.
Someday these little ones are gonna want some answers, only there won't be any. Not if you're gonna make everybody forget.
For which Ash and the gang are grateful.
Don't you think everybody deserves to know who they are and where they came from?
Yes, they deserve to remember.
Mewtwo now realizes that trustworthy goodness in the world is not a one-time phenomenon with Ash. Mewtwo now no longer has to rely on the naive anxiety of the scientists who created him by erasing memories. He bids Ash and Co. farewell.
Thank you. I will remember you always.
This time we'll both be able to remember.
And leaves in search of a more protected place for it and the clones to live.
Mewtwo's next canon anime appearance wouldn't be till 20 years later in Pokemon Master Journeys Episode 42, Getting More Than You Battled For, when Ash and Go are investigating a mysterious energy reading that they believe to be Mew and accidentally stumble on Mewtwo's Pokemon Oasis. Ash and Mewtwo get a swift, albeit sweet, reunion.
Why did you come here?
Something of note here is that Mewtwo is now caring for all Pokemon, not just the clones.
The reason these Pokemon were scared of us was because humans had treated them badly?
Mewtwo's new voice actor is also super cringe.
All right. Come at me with those dreams of yours.
Mewtwo allows Ash and Go to battle it and absolutely crushes them, and once again, travels with the Pokemon it is protecting to find a new oasis. Mewtwo's final appearance in the anime is in the final episode of Pokemon Ultimate Journeys. This could be the start of something big. At the end of the episode, Ash and Go take one last ride on Lugia, where they are treated to a tour of all 150 original Pokemon. Here, in a Blink and You'll Miss It cameo, Mewtwo can be seen leading his friends on a journey towards new places and a new life. After all, Mewtwo is alive, and life is wonderful.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I've got a Lucario video coming down the pipeline that you won't want to miss. Smell you later.